So I was watching briefly on TikTok some commentary on a young woman who told her story about how she was married and her husband had abandoned the marriage while she was pregnant, and how, the Lord told her to fast and pray and believe for her marriage, and how somehow or another the husband came back the day that she was going into labor. And you would have to go and see it yourself. But some of the commentary is that I'm seeing is basically people saying, they hate to see people using religion or using Christianity or the Bible to encourage women to stay in abusive and neglectful situations. But at any rate, their marriage has been back together, I think she said, for about 6 years. They have a marriage ministry and a marriage podcast and all of the things. And, I have no comment on their situation because I am not her. I was not in her head. I do not have her ears. I can't say whether God spoke to her or not. But what I thought about is how a lot of the things that we hear about when it comes to Christianity being oppressive, or people talking about patriarchy and how, thanks to the Bible, women are treated like crap in this world. But what I really thought about is how inaccurate that depiction is. For certain, God of the Bible and the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, has gotten a bad rap when it comes to loving, cherishing, and protecting and seeing value in women. And every time I hear the patriarchy argument and the oppression of women argument about Christianity, it becomes even more clear to me how we don't see the God of the Bible oppressing women. We see the God of the Bible interacting with his people in a culture that was fallen, in a culture that was sexist, in a culture that was racist. And so we don't see Jesus treating women with dishonor. We see Jesus protecting women. We see Jesus using the life of women in ways in which he intervened in their lives to teach some of the biggest foundational lessons of what it means to live a life that is pleasing and honorable to God. Even, the point of contention when it comes to submission in marriage, or in the eyes of some people, submission when it comes to leadership in different situations between men and women, there was still a motive for protection. There was still a motive for honoring. There was still a motive for loving women, taking care of them, relieving certain stressors, or making sure that certain things are taken care of. It wasn't God or Jesus' motive to oppress. That doesn't impact who he is and what his plans are or were then. And it's the same today. It is a sinful man, and not men as in men only, but sinful humans that take the Bible and use it in a way that is self-serving. It's sinful humans that take the Bible and use it to oppress people, or take the Bible and use it to harm women, to manipulate women, to abuse women, that use it to emasculate men. It is sinful human beings. And so that is why we really have to kill the idols so we can focus on the one true God who teaches us to love. And when I say kill the idols, I mean be honest enough with ourselves to identify the things that we long for in our hearts that cause us to do evil things, that cause us to be self-serving, that cause us to be rebellious, that cause us to be people who would oppress or abuse or neglect. We have to be honest with ourselves about what it is that we are chasing that means more to us than living for a good God. That means more to us than honoring a good father by treating each other well, by treating each other with love, by treating each other with respect and with preference. We accuse God and we vilify Jesus and the Christian faith by saying it's oppressive when it's really the sinful human beings that need to come back to Him. Just going back to the original scenario and just using the situation as an example, anything that I say is not necessarily about this lady because I don't know her and I don't know her heart. And if the Lord really did restore her and her husband back to health and they are living a life that is honorable unto God and each other and creating a safe space for their children, their offspring, then glory be to God. More power to them. But the situation definitely brings to mind times where we as women make idols out of people who have shown us who they are, people who have shown us who they serve, people who have shown us their capacity to honor, love, and respect a woman that have no intentions of changing whatsoever, unless it is convenient for them. And the change is not true. It's not a heartfelt change. And so we put ourselves in a dangerous situation because we've heard the stories. We have heard the abuse that people have endured, sometimes for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And oftentimes we are the ones who are teaching their children. We are the ones who are the therapists of the children. You know, we are the ones who are fasting and praying and crying on our knees that God will bring healing, bring a balm of health to the soul of the children who were not given a choice, and so they endure these situations. And then the other side is sometimes because of the whole idol of marriage, even when it is really not a good situation, we vilify women who choose to bring their children up out of that. So we really have to look at ourselves. Ultimately, the failure is not in God. It is us. And we do make the Christian faith look crazy when we make it seem like the Lord said this and the Lord said that. Because my thing is, even if God does direct someone to stay in a situation or tell someone that He's going to heal a situation, if God does it, He's going to do it well. And you're going to hear of a person being repentant, of that person going through their own, process with God, as well as oftentimes the person who, like this girl, for example, her, but not her, but situations like that. Sometimes when their marriage is severed temporarily, God works on the heart of that person as well. Because oftentimes God does use separations to show us our idols. Sometimes He does use separations to show us what we really need to focus. It's really important to consider as well, like, if the person leaves and they decide to come back, there have to be some parameters around that. You have the responsibility of protecting yourself and your child. And even though this man is technically your husband, he has pretty much broken the vows and gone to stay with somebody else. And if he decides to come back, you still have to have some self-respect. You still got to have some preservation of your life and your child's life. You still have to protect yourself. And, some might say, well, no, the husband's the protector. Well, he abandoned his post. So you don't just show up and then I'm just supposed to trust you to protect me. No, you got to show me that you with that you are capable of that you're down for that before I just trust you. So I guess ultimately my opinion is both of them. I believe, God can restore a marriage where there's been infidelity. And I believe God can restore broken people. And I also believe that narcissism, as well as the spirit of Leviathan, the spirit of Jezebel, the spirit of Ahab, all of those demonic powers and forces are very active in this day and time. And so if you're going to say the Lord told you, you better know what you're saying. That's the first thing. And not only that, you better have some power. You need some power from on high. I'm going to need you to be fasting and praying and hearing from God and not having an idol of an adulterous man that you are chasing. Period.